Now, over the course of the channel, we always see the severe weather begin to pick up, and then it dies off again, and then it picks right back up. And over the couple days, that's what we've kind of seen. We've seen the weather calm down a little bit after a huge outbreak of severe weather, and now we're going to continue to see that continue to boost back up as we continue through the lesser hours of May and into portions of June. And we are now beginning to get back into portions of severe weather, widespread for the most part as well. Let's go ahead and get right into it. And now, hello everybody, my name is Christian and welcome back to Skycast. And as I was saying, we've had a little bit more calmer weather. We've still had weather like tornadoes, hail, wind events, and all that because obviously it's tornado season. We got Tornado Alley and all that fun stuff, but we're now going to start getting into more elevated severe weather once again. Let's go ahead and get right into it. And so here we are on the National Weather Service website, and the National Weather Service has issued multiple risks of severe weather. Anywhere up here towards the New England states near Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, all the way down here to Florida, all the way over here into portions of Idaho, Colorado, down into Texas, we have severe weather potential. The main threats are going to be here in the Mississippi Valley, into portions of Kentucky, Tennessee as well, and then down here towards Florida, the Florida Peninsula. Main threat is not going to be tornadoes. We do have a possibility for some spin-up tornadoes, one being over here towards South Dakota, Nebraska, the other one being over here anywhere from Kentucky down into portions of Florida, but is going to mainly be wind-driven for a lot of these threats. We do have this 15% on both of these slight risks. Then if we look at hail, 15% for the north side, but once again, going to be more wind-driven for all of these threats, which is why that risk is in place. Isolated damaging winds and large hail may be possible this afternoon/evening across the Tennessee Valley region through tonight across central and north Florida. And you can pause to read the hypnosis here if you like. It kind of just explains what we're expecting. And then we begin to get into tomorrow. Once again, multiple areas, pretty widespread of this event. Anywhere from portions of Nebraska, main threat being towards the Texas-Oklahoma panhandle, into extreme South Kansas, over here towards the Carolinas and Virginias, and all the way down here into Florida, and then even up here, general thunderstorm from California, up into portions of Montana, over here into Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. We're seeing those thunderstorms pop up. The main severe threat's going to be over here towards the Texas panhandle and down towards Florida, though. Florida, going to see that elevated tornado threat of 5%, a possibility for there to be a tornado, a spin-up tornado or two, as well as over here in the Texas area. The mainly going to be Oklahoma and Kansas for that. 15% going to be wind-driven for that western threat, and then going to be hail-driven for all three of those for the most part. Scattered severe thunderstorms are possible Wednesday into Wednesday evening over parts of the north central Florida Peninsula and into southern Great Plains. And you can pause to read the hypnosis here once again if you like. The reason it's so long is just because of how widespread, how many areas are under these threats. And then we get over into day 3, and this day 3 is going to be a slight risk on Saturday through portions of Texas, marginal risk all the way from Louisiana over into portions of Oklahoma, and then another marginal risk through portions of Kentucky, Missouri, Illinois, little bit of Tennessee there as well. And this threat isn't going to be as widespread. There's not as many areas under this threat, but we do have a huge general thunderstorm risk anywhere from Arizona up here into portions of Michigan, Wisconsin, and then up down here towards Florida, we have that general thunderstorm risk as well. Probabilistic of this being severe is a 15% where that slight risk is. We do have that hatched towards that western side of this threat, towards portions of central Texas. 5% where we're seeing that marginal. So we're going to continue to monitor this as this develops. Strong to severe thunderstorms are possible across north central Texas on Thursday. Isolated severe thunderstorms are also possible across portions of the mid-Mississippi Valley. And you can pause to read this hypnosis again, not as long due to the fact that there's not as many areas under this threat. And for the first time in a while, we are highlighting a day 4 15%. This 15% is going to be through Louisiana and Mississippi. This is going to be for the southern Mississippi Valley. And down here, you can pause to read the discussion if you like this. All threats are on the table due to favorable severe environment as this continues throughout development. And here is the pivotal weather model for the most part. We are looking at a decently wide spread event with this for the most part. I don't know why it lagged like that. But we have a lot of rain, and even if you're not in the severe weather threat, you're going to be seeing a decent amount of rainfall. Could be quick or could be a little bit prolonged, and we could see a little bit of a flooding threat for low-lying areas here. But the main threat that we're looking for today is going to be this area towards Tennessee, where we do have this low pressure kind of popping up right here towards portions of Kentucky. And kind of what that is doing is that's going to bring a severe weather threat with that low pressure just right there. It's going to bring a lot of that storm help with that favorable condition. We do also have another area down here towards Florida where we're looking at severe weather, and as of now there's nothing down there right now, but as we continue moving off into the evening / the overnight hours, we could see some of that condition as well. And then we have another area up here towards Vermont and Maine, where we are seeing a couple storms kind of pop up through there. It's not going to be anything too wild, but you can see just a little bit of that reflectivity right there on this. So not going to be too wild of an event today. I do have a little bit of that severe weather potential today, but as this continues to move on, these storms do eventually into the evening hours do move into Florida, and it's going to be kind of a little bit of a squall line set of storm for the most part. That will continue to move off to the east, a decent amount of rain forming, and then we will move into some more of this risk, where we are moving into day 3, and we do have this storm system forming back here towards portions of Oklahoma and whatnot for that. That will move off to the east, and then we get into the secondary area towards portions of Texas, where we're seeing this section form up. And then as this continues to move off to the east, we do get into the day 4 sector, and this is going to be actually, I have to look that up. Sorry about that, but it's going to be on Friday for this, and you're going to see this area of storms through portions of Louisiana and Mississippi, and that's going to bring probably an upper level set of severe weather, where it is being able to be highlighted on the day 4 instead of the day 1 through 3. And as this continues through, where we're not looking at these risks, you can see a decent amount of reflectivity anywhere from up here in Canada all the way down here into portions of the Carolinas. You can see like Florida all the way up in here into Pennsylvania. So we are looking at weather to start continuously picking up pretty actively. You can see back towards the 20th, another area formed right here, followed by a back low pressure system. That's going to be right there. I don't know why, but the drawing tool keeps lagging. But that's what we're continuing to monitor as the days continue to go through. Just continuing to watch as these low pressure systems continue to form. As the moisture comes from the Gulf of Mexico, it pulls from the Gulf of Mexico. The cold air from Canada kind of coming out of the Rocky Mountains and stuff out of that, and that's what's helping form the storms in the Tornado Alley area, and that's what we're looking at for the most potential for severe weather. And then this we could see some severe weather stuff start forming over here a little bit further east, where these low pressure systems just continue the track. You can see right here towards the 23rd, this low pressure system over like Ohio and Indiana. So depending, it could be severe, it could be not. We're just going to have to continue to watch and continue to see how these do continue to move through. This model right here is predicting on the 24th. Keep and take this with a grain of salt. This is really far out. But it is predicting somewhat of a big widespread event, a possible severe weather event. And this would probably include anywhere from Iowa down into Kansas, Oklahoma, and then would probably track over into portions of the Ohio Valley, and then the remnants of it all the way up into portions of the New England. So we're continuing to monitor. More videos coming out as things get closer to see. Now, as we're looking at Radar Omega, the main threat that we're seeing for the Tennessee area is going to be anywhere from the upper Mississippi Valley near Tupelo, Huntsville, Alabama, all the way into portions of Morrisboro and Nashville, Clarksville, Tennessee, where we do have this severe thunderstorm watch in effect. This goes for the next 5 hours, and the probabilities are not the highest whatsoever. 10% tornado threat over a lower than 2% EF2, EF5 risk, a 30/20 for wind, a 30/20 for hail, hail, overall a 60% severe hazard risk. So we're not looking at anything too wild, but as the environment continues, we could see additional favorable conditions for there to be severe storms, as we're looking at down here. Severe thunderstorm warnings, continuing to see special weather statements and all that pop up over portions of Kentucky down into Tennessee and Mississippi, as this kind of squall line set of storms just continues to move off to the east. Now, as we're looking to about 3, 4, 5 o'clock, this is Eastern Standard Time, these storms will rapidly organize for the most part and form a pretty well-defined squall line, and some of these can be embedded little supercells, and what that means is that it can rotate possibly a tornado warning or two. Not really likely that anything is going to touch down, but as these continue, not only is a very small tornado threat going to be there, but you're also going to be able to see that hail threat in excess of an inch in diameter, wind gusts of about 60, 65, even 70 mile an hour. So we're continuing to watch that, but as the squall line continues to move off to the east, we are also looking like a backed section right here towards portions of Kentucky, and that once again can help favorably with that potential for severe weather. And I do know the NATOcast model is predicting an elevated 5% tornado threat up there, so we will continue to monitor how this continues to develop. By 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it will move out of Nashville, and then by 9:10, it will rapidly deorganize. And there will still obviously be a couple threats, maybe a supercell or two still continuing to spark up. But for the most part, it's going to continue to become deorganized and then eventually will die off in the morning hours. But now we need to shift down to Florida, where we're also seeing that secondary threat. Now, the threat for Florida will be a nocturnal threat, and that can be good and can be bad. If there does wind up being some sort of tornado threat down here, that will be the bad part. But for the most part, it is looking like the threat for all of this is relatively low. And we're looking at this area right here. That's your area of severe storms. And I know you're looking and you're saying, wow, that's not much right now, about 10 p.m. But by 11, 12, 1, that rapidly gains intensity. You can see it kind of forming into what we're looking at, kind of like a little bit of a squall line, and then that's at midnight Eastern Standard Time, and then by the time we get into 1, 2, 3 o'clock is when things start rapidly gaining order, and then it will already be like 1 a.m. For example, this storm will be moving through into North Florida, and that will already have that severe potential. And then as it moves through, it'll just rapidly gain intensity by 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and that's going to be your threat for that North Florida area for the most part. This squall line area will have a possibility for that severe weather development as time moves on, but that main concern is going to be that north side, and that's just going to continue move off through Florida. And then as we get into tomorrow's risk, a second backed area right here, this is going to be off to the west into the Gulf of Florida, and what this is going to do as well is not only are we seeing that back-to-back severe potential, we're also looking at a flooding concern for non-stop rainstorms. But as we get into 3 p.m. tomorrow in Eastern Standard Time, we're looking at another rapidly organizing storm, and that's going to continue to move down south, and eventually by 12, as we get into day 3, 12 at midnight, that will die off for the most part. And it does look like, from what the HRRR is seeing on this side, it does look like that will relatively stay off land, which can be a good thing just due to the fact that that's not going to impact us bad. And now we get into something different. I've been saying it for a while. I'm going to start saying it again. We are looking at a tropical development chance. And right now, it's not a high. This is going to be south of Mexico in the Pacific, south of Mexico City. And this is a 0 over 30% chance of a tropical development. There's that low pressure that's going to be sitting here. And this is going to move off this way towards the west-northwest if something does form. So as of now, not a wild concern, but we will continue to monitor to see how this develops as well. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for choosing Skycast as your go-to weather. Continued updates will continue out as we continue to get closer and closer to these events. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Once again, thank you for choosing Skycast. Have a great day and stay safe.